Hello and welcome to Points of Light. This is our series during the Epiphany series where we in the Arkansas-Oklahoma Synod are looking at some of the creative and unique ministries that some of our congregations have. I am Pastor Becca Middy-Conlin. I'm the Director of Evangelical Mission and Associate for Youth and Young Adult Ministry. And with me today, I have Pastor Peter Olson from the Shared Ministry Cooperative. I always get the full title of some of our congregations in North Central Oklahoma. And he's here to talk about beer and theology. So welcome, Pastor Peter. Do you want to start with just sharing what all congregations you serve?
You bet. So, and hey, Becca, and hey, everyone else. So I am Pastor Peter. I serve, I have to get them all right, but Zion Lutheran in Perry, Oklahoma, Prince of Peace up in Ponca City, St. Paul United Church of Christ down in Marshall. So we actually work together with one of our full communion partners, and Faith Lutheran Church over in Enid. So our beer and theology time, it's something that's kind of evolved. We did it a few years ago at a pub in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and actually got to do it with some of the folks down at Salem Lutheran as well. We got to join together, and it was a lot of fun. Probably had maybe 30 people or so at the first few gatherings of it. Really good energy. It was really exciting. We'd meet once a month or so, and it was just cool. Great chance to get to know each other. And at Beer and Theology back then, we've continued the idea into where we are today. But we bring different questions. And I actually subscribe to a service online that gives me some suggested questions each week, which makes it really easy with that. Some of the questions work well for our group and some of them don't. And so I'll take a couple of them and then maybe I'll go in a different direction with others. Oftentimes I look for our upcoming scripture from some suggestions, some idea of a good talking point of something that might be fun to challenge ourselves with, to say, what does this mean for us? What does this look like? And we just go around the group and folks are encouraged to go ahead and speak their truth. Not their right answer, but their truth. And it's a great opportunity for us to be able to hear each other and to really see each other's different perspectives about everything from, where we are on very significant issues of like abortion or other significant social issues we might deal with, death penalty issues, a variety of things, to how do you squeeze a toothpaste out of your toothpaste roll? Do you curl it up? Do you push it up? All of that, and it's just fun. It's good opportunity to be church together. When COVID hit, we really transformed our beer and theology. We were looking for different ways that we could try to do good community connection events, because during that time of COVID, especially those early months, we all just felt so distant. We felt so pulled apart. We had closed our physical doors and we were worshiping online, and being able to come together was so important. And so beer and theology became kind of one of those natural switches that we changed over. And instead of doing it once a month, we switched it to doing every single week, every Monday night, just to really give each other that chance to talk and engage. Today, we really don't get the 30 or 40 people that we did those first times. As fun as that was back then, what we have now, we probably have maybe 5, 6, 7 people who come on pretty regularly. But we have such an awesomely close-knit community for those who are popping on. And we get some others who pop in sometimes too. But we have folks from 4 different congregations, 3 of them that I serve. One of them is actually another denomination, they're Nazarenes. And they pop in there with us too. And we have some really great discussion and get to hear their perspective on faith. And it's just really fun. And as you can see from my background, we try to just have some fun with it. I say holy cow or bovine divine, however you want to look at it. But just being able to enjoy that chance to be together. And at the end of every night, we find out what their prayer concerns are and we pray together, for each other, for those we are worried about.
That sounds like,
so that's kind of the basic for what we do for beer and theology.
Yeah, because that's definitely some deep relationships that you have developed online if you are doing this weekly. And people are able to speak their truth and not just surface level stuff all the time. And yeah, maybe on I'm assuming that the toothpaste tube questions is like a get to know you, like intro question for the day and not, do you fill a full hour with just people arguing about how to squeeze their toothpaste?
You would be surprised, but no, no, actually, that is an awesome icebreaker, and we've had like deep discussions, and it goes into thoughts of am I a perfectionist that I don't want to miss any of that toothpaste? Is it does it drive me batty when someone else, my spouse or my child, does it differently? I mean, it's fun, but all kinds of different icebreaker questions, and we try to mix it up and do different things.
In case you were wondering, I actually use the toothpaste tabs. So,
I have been waiting for someone to say that, and you're the first one to actually say that. And it's been fun. I actually asked the same question. I'm on a board of RY here in town too, and just asked the same question of them, and we had 20 minutes of discussion around toothpaste with that. But it's fun. It's fun.
good. Has there been any calls or push about people who want to go back to the in-person at the pub, at the brewery, or?
So yes and no. There's nostalgia for it, and folks really enjoyed that ability to come together like that. And at the same time, for us, I mean, those who are gathering with us, we have Ponca City, which is about 45 miles north of me. We have Enid, which is about 45 miles west of me. We have here in Perry. We get some folks from Stillwater every once in a while. I mean, it's a long way for each other to be able to travel. And if we were going to try to gather into one location with the group that we have meeting now, it'd be a challenge for several to be able to get together. And that's one of the benefits of the Zoom with that for us.
Okay, so I want to give you some time to give some tricks and tips if people want to start this in their own community. And so it sounds like it's almost two different online option versus in person. So let's continue with the online option then. So you basically have the link out available. People can join. Do you tell what the topic will be in advance? Is it?
So I mean, there's a couple different ways I've done it. At times I've gone ahead and thrown things out there in advance and let people know. If there's a particular heavier topic, I may say we got something coming up. But for this group, at least in the last few months, we've tended to just come and be present for it. And we'll throw questions out, and I may have 6 or 7 questions that are ready, but I really encourage going down the different rabbit holes. And so if we have someone start dovetailing off, then we just go with that dovetail.
Yeah, and it sounds like over the years you've built up enough trust with your core group then that you can go down those rabbit holes and know that there's still safe places and people's opinions will be respected. Which you probably need to have a little bit more parameters of when you first start, especially in Zoom where you can't read the body language as well.
Right.
At least on Zoom, people can't interrupt each other as easily.
Oh, I don't know. You'd be surprised. But I mean, they do try to do a really good job of not interrupting each other.
Yeah.
But definitely when you're starting up a group like this, setting the ground rules and ground expectations is really important. You do want to make sure that they understand that in this kind of a conversation environment, that there's not a right or a wrong answer. That the purpose of this is not to prove everyone else that we are right, but that we can experience the insights that each other has, because we all experience God differently. We experience the world differently. And at times we very much disagree with each other on some things. And then we lift that up and say how awesome that is, that we are able to hear each other's opinions that are different. And that we're still able to get along and share, especially as we see so much division in the country. In many ways, being able to have those moments where we can butt heads as far as where our understanding is and still see each other as people and love each other. It's really important. It's really good.
Yeah. And then do you reiterate those rules at the beginning of each meeting, or at least at first? Maybe not as much now that it's been a few years.
Yeah, at the beginning I really did. And whenever someone new would pop in too, we would kind of refresh what the rules were. what I did for the first, while we were meeting in person, I would actually print off the questions that I had in advance on little quarter sheets of paper. And on one side, I would have the questions. On the other side, I would have the rules. Um, and part of the rule too with it is it's also okay to pass. So that's a really important piece, that someone can just sit and listen if they want to, and if they want to engage, it's good.
And I also appreciate what you said earlier about everyone got a chance to speak their truth, but not their correct answer.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important for us to remember in all aspects of life, but especially something where you are going to be possibly talking about contentious issues. And that just because you and I might not agree on something doesn't mean what you have to share is not true for you and what I have to share is not true for me. But you are not correct, nor am I correct, because there is not a correct answer on a lot of theological issues. There's not a correct answer on a lot of things that we always see as a political issue, even if you're looking at it from a theological lens, as you mentioned abortion earlier for one of the topics.
Right.
So then were you in person, did you warn the pub that you were coming? Did you have a back room? What worked? Was there things that didn't work?
So I mean, we had a set schedule with the pub as far as when we were going to be there. So they knew when we were going to be present. That said, even though they knew when we were going to be present, sometimes they would still schedule like trivia night over on top of us. And so, and they would invite us to join in on trivia night, but we were trying to be in our own little cluster in the back corner. So sound management was a challenge sometimes for that. So being able to go around, if you have options of different pubs or different places you might gather, try to find a quiet night, find out what's not on their normal radar schedule with it, and then enter in on that night. And advertise with the pub too. I mean, they were very excited to go ahead and keep our little quarter sheets, and they would put them out there. And even people who weren't joining in with us, sometimes we'd see them pick that up and go, and take it and walk off and have these 4 or 5 questions that they might just think about, and that was cool.
Yeah, because I know a lot of I was good friends, not good friends, neighbors with a brewery owners when I lived in Pennsylvania, and Tuesday and Wednesday used to be the slow nights, but then now Tuesday was always trivia night, and they always tried to have bands in on Wednesday night. So it's in some way, so you have to find when's your slow time, and that varies. Or if they have one that has a back room, but if you have 30 people there, it's helpful so the staff knows, because 30 people is an extra weight person, ideally. So.
Another resource for anyone who might be interested in getting into it, so there's a book called Pub Theology, Beer, Conversation, and God. It's by Brian Berghoff. It's on Amazon. You can get a Kindle version of it, paperback, hardcover, whatever you want. But that's a really good resource, and it actually lays out step by step some encouragements on how to get this started and get it set up. And it has many of the rules listed in there for you too, as a place you can build from at least. And then that's maybe the first 20 or so pages of it, and then it's just filled with questions of different questions that were really big hits at their beer and theologies that they had experienced, that they had tried. And so that's a really good starting place. And so if you're looking at getting into it, I think the Kindle version is $10 or so. It is cheap and easy to be able to enter into, and then you just come together and you don't try to be the expert. You just say, here we are, we're gathered together, here are our ground rules. Here's 5 questions for us to consider. Which one do we want to do first?
Yeah. Well, and I think especially in this part of the country, we were actually just joking about this today. I'm going to repeat a horrible joke. I mean, it's a good joke. Bishop Mike, I'm going to blame him, shared this joke at our staff meeting today that he learned from Baptist. So that basically, if you invite one Baptist over to dinner, be sure to lock your liquor cabinet. But if you invite 2, don't worry about it. And so when we're in this part of the country where Christians don't drink, where Christians are but they do, just in private or amongst friends and not amongst fellow church members. To be there as a church group can be such a witness of, like, you don't have to be holier than thou just to enter in the doors of a church, that you can come as a regular human being who enjoys a beer on occasion, or struggles with alcoholism, or that has all these questions about theology, and that you can still enter in the door. You don't have to have the answers already, is such a great public witness. And I have had some of the best theological conversations I've ever had sitting at a bar. Granted, they have not been with church members. They've just been with people who have found out that I'm a pastor and we start talking. And it's because it's where people are so longing for community in our culture. So yeah, definitely if you can partner with a pub to partner with a brewery to make this as part of their schedule as well, and open it up to all people, not just your church members, that would be amazing. But if you just want to start with people gathering together, or whether at a bar or a brewery, pub, or if you want to do it as coffee theology because you don't drink and you have no desire, or do it at there's not as many wineries well, there's some in Arkansas, not as many in Oklahoma. That it's just a great gather together and struggle with those theological questions, and share each other's truths. Your own truth. I really enjoy that so much. Any other advice you would give to people?
I think, I think that's a good starting place. And just having some freedom with it to, see where it goes and see what works for the group. And, even if you name it something like Beer and Theology, make sure that they know that you don't have to drink beer in order to come, that you can order water on the rocks and it's okay. And to celebrate each other. That's the other really big thing, is as we hear the differing opinions, to really try to listen in and, not speak against, but speak in recognition of how we do have this rich diversity. So, but no, it's a great thing to get into.
Good, thank you. Yeah, our entire point of the series is just to encourage congregations to try something a little different. And, for many of our congregations, different is even thinking at the bar. So I love it.
And I will say briefly too, so when I started this up, so they had never had a tradition of doing this before at Zion, or any of our points here. Zion was the one that I initially jumped in with, and we kind of pulled in the others. But the area pastors thought I was joking when I first said that I was going to be starting this up. They truly thought I was joking. And now they've come to appreciate that it happens. Even those who are against a lot of any imbibing whatsoever, they think it's amazing that we have a group that comes together and talks about God and shares a beer or a glass of wine or tea or water or anything else together. And it's just humbling to have those conversations and to realize what great theologians we have in our congregations.
Yeah. Well, and as you said, the Nazarenes that join you, if you already have some ecumenical relationships, this will also be a great way to strengthen them, because one person can say, well, in the Lutheran church I was taught, and then somebody else can say, well, in the insert denomination here I was taught. And even somebody who came into either one of those traditions as an adult can share, but also say, I was taught, because it might not be in the Lutheran church we believe, might not actually, again, it's your truth, or your truth may not be the correct answer even amongst Lutherans. And, thank you for this. Thank you for the ministry that you are doing. It is always a delight to hear about it, and especially to hear about some of the creative stuff and how much you have used and embraced the online gathering space when you guys are so spread out in the shared ministry cooperative. So we've been ending these with a blessing that came to us from our first one for this season, was from Julie Recker, and as her Prayers in Pajamas group. And they do they end it's also on Zoom. And so they end with having people make the sign of the cross on their forehead and saying, God loves you, and so do I. Thank you, Peter.
That is awesome. Take care.